You're listening to Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined by Louis Cammarosano, General Manager for HomeGain. Well, Louis, the big thing I'm wondering is, though, is it's like, of all those foreclosure papers that they said the affidavits that hadn't been looked over properly or reviewed properly. I mean, they said one guy was doing like 2,000 affidavits in a day, which is virtually impossible.
The robo-signers.
Yeah, robo-signers. My question is, of all of those, the documentation just wasn't handled properly, but that doesn't take into consideration the fact that the person was actually legitimately late and not paying on that mortgage.
Correct. So basically, it's a form over substance, but as you know, in our legal system, sometimes that trumps the actuality.
Yeah.
If they don't have the actual documentation, even though somebody isn't paying, and by all rights they should have been foreclosed on, if they can't prove it, then maybe they won't be able to.
Right.
That's the real issue. I think a lot of people are saying that the banks did not, and the banks themselves in their initial reviews, if you look in their SEC filings, say they believe that they haven't done it, they've done everything correctly.
Right.
But they didn't say that we believe we've done everything correctly and we have the documentation to prove it.
Yeah, I did hear something about, I don't know if it was a spokesman for Bank of America or who it was, but they had said that they were making an indication that they shouldn't have given back the TARP funds. So I think what you just said is a good little tidbit there for where we could be headed.
Well, it's hard for anyone to say what the ultimate liability might be. It may be, some people think it'll just blow over and, this was a 6-month blip.
Yeah.
And getting the foreclosures run through the systems. And on the other extreme, there's people who are saying that this could be a real problem for the financial industry and for homeowners and for the housing market.
Right.
It's hard to tell because we don't have all the facts and we haven't really seen where – you also have the wild card of what the government might do.
Yeah. Well,
it's very hard to predict, except one thing we do know is because we don't know that there is uncertainty, and that can't be good for the market.
Yeah, and it definitely is not good for the housing market at all. I mean, too many unknowns. The funny thing is that I can't see the government doing anything positive to help this real estate market. I mean, what have they done so far? What government program has been of anything that's really benefited the consumer?
Well, the government has instituted many, as you know, over the years, many programs designed to encourage home ownership. However, in doing so, if you look back at the Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae scenarios, the banks were encouraged to make loans because they knew that the government, or not the government, but the government entities, sponsored entities, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, would purchase those mortgages. So they really didn't have any incentive in checking the credit worthiness because they really weren't going to be on the hook for it.
Right.
So what's happened as a result of the government intervention is the housing prices went up. And it's ironic because the whole purpose of the programs were to make homes affordable to everyone.
Right.
But by making interest rates low and making it easier to obtain a loan, well, then the sellers just jacked the price up knowing that the buyers could get the loans to pay the higher price. Now that's all reversed itself around. If you look at our Virginia third quarter survey, and we don't specifically survey the state of Virginia. We do it as part and parcel of our national survey, but we end up getting about the same percentage of the population of Virginia to fill out the survey as a general percentage of our survey participants. It's about 3.5%. But what you see in Virginia is, and this is quite extreme, 74% of Virginia home buyers think homes are overpriced, and then 82% of Virginia homeowners think their homes are worth more than the realtor's recommended listing price.
Right.
So there's a pretty big disconnect there, and at some point something has to give because if buyers think the homes are overpriced, they're not going to pay it.
Yeah.
And obviously sellers, they're reluctant to lower their price. However, what ends up happening inevitably, the initial home seller concept is their home should be worth more than it is. And a lot of that's based on their own emotional experiences. Their kid took their first step there. It really has nothing to do with the housing price. But a good real estate agent, what they'll do is they'll walk the home sellers through the comparables. They'll walk them through what they need to do to get the best price for their house. And then they'll also talk them out of trying to ask for 3 years ago's price.
Right. Yep.
So a good real estate, and that's one of the things we do at HomeGain, is we don't necessarily encourage home sale or buy transactions. We encourage homeowners if they need to sell their home, not to try it by yourself, but to pick a qualified real estate agent, and HomeGain can help you there. And if you want to buy a home, don't listen to the, now is the best time to buy a home, because maybe it isn't. Right. Listen to a real estate agent who's going to sell you on their services and their expertise, not on general home ownership concepts. I think I mentioned to you, one line I like to use is, when real estate agents say now is the best time to buy a home, or the NAR says that, that's akin to the American Bar Association running ads saying there's never been a better time to bring that lawsuit.
Yep.
Trying to increase the use of lawyers. We don't need an increased use of real estate agents. We need an increased knowledge base amongst consumers, home buyers, and sellers as to the value of real estate agents.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that it all boils back down to, Lewis, is that you need to be working with some trusted professionals that can advise you, on your individual situation, whether it's going to be best for you to buy a home or not, and to get good, solid advice. I think that that's where it starts and ends, is making sure that you're not putting somebody into a position that they can't afford or don't need to be in.